I came home from the hospital after 4 days of staring at ceiling tiles and eating food that tasted like cardboard. My right leg was in a cast from ankle to knee, held together with enough titanium screws to set off a metal detector. The stairs at home had betrayed me, sent me tumbling down 13 steps into my own garage. The doctor said I was lucky. Lucky felt like a generous word when every breath reminded me where my ribs had cracked against concrete. The neighbor, Daniel, had picked me up. He insisted, wouldn't take no for an answer when I mentioned calling a cab. His silver sedan idled in my driveway now, and through the window I could see the front door standing open, wide open, like someone had propped it deliberately. "Looks like they're expecting you," Daniel said, but something in his voice sounded careful, measured. I struggled out of the passenger seat, gripping the walker the hospital had sent me home with. Every movement sent lightning through my leg. The physical therapist's words echoed in my head. "Take it slow, Mr. Mitchell. Don't rush the healing process." That's when I saw the moving truck. It sat at the curb, back doors yawning open like a hungry mouth. Two men in work clothes were carrying my leather armchair down the front steps, the chair my wife Ellen had given me for our 30th anniversary. The chair where I'd held her hand during her final weeks, where I'd read Sophie bedtime stories, where I'd sat alone after Ellen died and tried to remember what normal felt like. What the hell? The words came out rough, confused. Daniel's hand touched my shoulder. "Robert, wait, let me..." But I was already moving, walker scraping against pavement, pain shooting up my leg with each awkward step. One of the movers glanced at me, then away quickly, like he'd been trained not to make eye contact with the owners. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, holding a cardboard box. My daughter-in-law, Michael's widow, the woman who'd moved into my house 2 years ago when cancer took my son. She froze when she saw me, the box tilting in her arms. I could see picture frames inside. My wedding photos, Ellen's reading glasses perched on top. "Robert." Her voice came out high, tight. "You're back early. They said you'd be in the hospital until Monday." Today was Friday. She knew I was coming home today. I'd called her yesterday morning, told her Daniel was picking me up at 10. "What's going on?" I asked. My walker felt unsteady on the walkway, or maybe that was just me. "Why are these men taking my furniture?" She set the box down carefully on the porch. When she straightened, her face had rearranged itself into something that looked like concern, but felt wrong, practiced. "Robert, we need to talk. Come inside. You shouldn't be standing out here with that leg." Kyle appeared behind her. I'd met him twice. Vanessa's friend, she called him, though the way he touched her waist suggested they were well past friendship. He was younger than her by maybe 5 years, wearing expensive sneakers and a watch that probably cost more than my monthly pension. "The old guy's home," he said, not to me, to Vanessa, like I wasn't standing right there. I moved toward the steps. Daniel appeared at my elbow, steadying me. "Let's see what's happening here," he said quietly. Inside, the house had been gutted. The antique grandfather clock my father brought from Germany in 1959, gone. The dining table Ellen and I bought at an estate sale in 1982, gone. The Persian rug her mother gave us, gone. Even the walls looked bare. Pale rectangles, marking where paintings had hung for decades. A single folding chair sat in the middle of the living room. Cheap metal and plastic, the kind you buy at discount stores and throw away when they break. "Sit down before you fall," Vanessa said, gesturing to the chair. I didn't sit. "Where are my things?" "That's what we need to discuss." She crossed her arms, defensive already. "The house is too big for you now. You're 70 years old. You just broke your leg falling down your own stairs. What happens next time? What if you fall and can't get to a phone? I'm 67. The correction came automatically, and I called 911 fine. That's how the ambulance found me. After lying on the garage floor for 2 hours, she countered, "Robert, you need professional care. We found a wonderful facility, Mountain View Senior Living. Beautiful place in West Asheville. They have medical staff, activities, people your age. You'll be much safer there." Kyle moved to the kitchen counter, picked up a manila folder thick with papers. "We've already done the research," he said. All you have to do is sign. Something cold settled in my chest. Sign what? Vanessa took the folder from Kyle, carried it to me. Her movements were smooth, rehearsed. She'd practiced this moment, I realized, prepared for it. Just some papers to make the transition easier. Power of attorney, so we can handle the sale of the house. Medical directives, so we can make decisions if you're incapacitated again. Admission paperwork for Mountain View. I opened the folder. Legal documents, dense with text, colorful tabs marking signature lines. Robert Mitchell, hereby transfers. Robert Mitchell acknowledges. Robert Mitchell grants full authority. How much does this facility cost? I asked. The house will cover it. Vanessa's voice had taken on a practiced gentleness. The market's strong right now. We can get maybe 800,000, probably more. That'll pay for your care for years. 800,000. I looked up at her. And where will you and Sophie live? We'll find something smaller. Don't worry about us, Robert. We're thinking about what's best for you. Through the open door, I watched the movers load my armchair into the truck. The leather caught the afternoon sun, worn smooth from 35 years of use. Ellen's chair. They were taking Ellen's chair. I'm not signing anything, I said. Kyle's expression hardened. Be reasonable, old man. You can't take care of yourself. We're trying to help. Help yourselves, you mean. The words came out sharper than I intended. I've been home 5 minutes, and you're already trying to sell my house out from under me. Vanessa's mask slipped, just for a second. Frustration flashed across her face before the concerned daughter-in-law expression returned. We're doing this for your own good. If you won't cooperate, we'll have to pursue other options. What other options? Guardianship. She said it simply, like it was obvious. We can petition the court to declare you incompetent. After this fall, after the hospital, it won't be hard to prove you can't manage on your own. The threat hung in the air between us. Daniel's hand tightened on my arm, a silent warning to stay calm. I need to think, I said finally. I need time to review these papers with someone qualified. Someone qualified? Vanessa's voice rose. Like who? You don't trust your own family now? My family is dead. The words came out cold, hard. Michael's gone. Ellen's gone. You're my son's widow, and I've tried to help you, tried to give you and Sophie a home. But this? I gestured at the empty room. This isn't helping me. This is you taking what's mine. Kyle stepped forward, but Daniel moved between us. Despite being in his mid-60s, Daniel still had the build of someone who'd played college football. I think we all need to take a breath here, he said calmly. Robert just got out of the hospital. Let's give him time to rest and review things properly. Vanessa gathered the folder, her movements sharp with barely contained anger. Fine. You have 3 days to sign these papers, Robert. After that, we file for guardianship. The doctor already documented your fall, your confusion at the hospital, your inability to manage your medication schedule. It won't be difficult to get a judge to agree you need supervision. After they left, slamming doors and taking Kyle's sports car down the street too fast, I stood in my empty living room and tried to process what had just happened. Daniel helped me into the folding chair, the metal cold even through my pants. How long has this been planned? I asked, more to myself than to him. Daniel pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. I've been keeping notes. 3 weeks ago, I saw a moving truck here. Vanessa told me she was putting some things in storage to make the house easier for you to navigate. Last week, someone was taking photos of the house, different angles, looked professional. When I asked, she said she was updating the insurance records. She's been planning this since before I fell, probably since before that. Daniel sat on the floor across from me, his back against the wall. Robert, I need to tell you something. I'm a retired attorney, spent 30 years in elder law. What Vanessa's doing, it's textbook financial exploitation. The timing, the guardianship threat, the pressure tactics. I've seen it hundreds of times. I looked at my neighbor, really looked at him. We'd lived next door to each other for 15 years, shared tools and small talk, but I'd never known he was a lawyer. Why didn't you say something before? I wasn't sure. I've been watching, documenting, but I needed to be certain before I interfered in a family matter. Now, I'm certain. Robert, you need to fight this. I'm 67 years old with a broken leg. She's right about one thing. I can barely take care of myself right now. Needing help isn't the same as being incompetent. You're articulate. You understand what's happening. You're making reasoned decisions. That's competent. What you need is support, not a guardian. I pulled out my wallet, found the business card I'd been carrying for weeks. Dr. Patricia Huang, my primary care physician. She'd given it to me after Ellen died, written a different number on the back. If you ever need to talk to someone, she'd said, about anything. I hadn't called, hadn't needed to, until now. I need to make some calls, I said. Can you help me get to my bedroom? I need to see what she left me up there. Daniel helped me navigate the stairs, one agonizing step at a time. My bedroom had been ransacked. The dresser drawers hung open, empty. The closet showed gaps where Ellen's clothes had hung. I'd kept them there, couldn't bear to remove them. Now Vanessa had done it for me. But my nightstand remained untouched. Inside, I found Ellen's engagement ring, her grandmother's pearl necklace, the gold pocket watch that belonged to my grandfather. Small things, but valuable. Things Vanessa probably didn't know about or hadn't gotten to yet. I sat on the bed, my leg throbbing, and pulled out my phone. First call was to Dr. Huang. She answered on the third ring. Robert, how are you? I heard about your fall. I need your help. My daughter-in-law is trying to have me declared incompetent. A pause. Then, carefully, tell me everything. I did. The fall, the hospital stay, coming home to find my house being emptied, the guardianship threat. Dr. Huang listened without interrupting. Robert, I've been your doctor for 8 years. You're competent. You have normal age-related changes, some arthritis, high blood pressure well controlled with medication. None of that affects your cognitive function or decision-making capacity. I'll testify to that if needed. Thank you. But Robert, be careful. People who do this kind of thing, they don't stop because you resist. They escalate. Document everything. Get security cameras if you can. And find a good attorney. I have one next door. After hanging up, I called my bank. The representative confirmed what I feared. 3 weeks ago, someone had attempted to add Vanessa Mitchell as a joint owner on my accounts. The request was denied because I hadn't appeared in person to verify it. Can you put a freeze on my accounts? I asked. Nothing changes without me appearing in person with photo ID. Already done, Mr. Mitchell. When the request was denied, we automatically flagged your accounts for fraud protection. Small mercies. At least she hadn't gotten my money. Yet. Daniel appeared in the doorway. I made some calls too. I have a colleague, Sarah Chen, still practices elder law. She can see us tomorrow morning if you're up for it. I'll be up for it. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the house seemed amplified. The old furnace kicking on, the wind rattling windows, footsteps on the porch that turned out to be a neighbor's cat. I kept expecting Vanessa to return, to try something else. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're making a mistake. Sign the papers, and this can be easy. Fight us, and you'll regret it. I showed Daniel the next morning. He photographed the message, added it to the file he was building. Sarah Chen's office was in downtown Asheville, a renovated brick building near Pack Square. She was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with sharp eyes and a handshake that meant business. Tell me what happened, she said, pulling out a legal pad. I told the story again. It was getting easier each time, which somehow made it worse, like practicing lines for a play I never wanted to perform in. Sarah took notes, asked pointed questions. Has Vanessa had access to your financial documents? She lives in my house. She's had access to everything. Did you ever give her permission to act on your behalf financially or medically? No, never in writing. Good. Sarah tapped her pen against the pad. Here's what we're dealing with. If Vanessa files for guardianship, the court will appoint an independent evaluator to assess your competency. That's actually good for us, because you're clearly competent. But the process takes time, and during that time, she might try to liquidate assets or create situations that make you appear incompetent. How do I stop her? We file an injunction preventing any sale or transfer of property. We document her unauthorized attempts to access your accounts. We get you evaluated by a court-approved psychologist to establish competency on record. And we prepare for the possibility that this gets ugly. It's already ugly. It can get uglier. Sarah's expression was sympathetic but honest. I've seen cases where family members sabotage medications, create dangerous situations, even make false reports to adult protective services. You need to protect yourself. Over the next week, Daniel and I turned my house into a fortress of documentation. Security cameras in the living room, kitchen, and front porch. A lock on my bedroom door. A daily log of visitors, phone calls, and incidents. Vanessa appeared 3 days later with Sophie. My granddaughter ran to me, threw her arms around my waist carefully, avoiding my cast. "Grandpa, I missed you." "I missed you too, sweetheart." I held her tight, smelling her strawberry shampoo. 9 years old and already caught in the middle of adult ugliness. Vanessa stood in the doorway, her expression neutral. "I thought Sophie should see you. Make sure you're okay." "I'm okay." "Are you?" She glanced around the room. "I see you got cameras." "Seems a bit paranoid, Robert." "Seems necessary." Sophie was chattering about school, about a project on the solar system, about her friend Emma who broke her arm doing gymnastics. Normal kid stuff. I tried to focus on her words, her enthusiasm, but Vanessa's presence poisoned the room. After 20 minutes, Vanessa checked her watch. "We need to go, Sophie. Say goodbye to Grandpa. Can I come back tomorrow?" "We'll see." Vanessa's hand on Sophie's shoulder was possessive. Grandpa needs his rest. At the door, Vanessa turned back. "The guardianship petition will be filed on Monday. You should prepare yourself." The court papers arrived Tuesday morning by certified mail. Petition for guardianship and conservatorship in the matter of Robert Mitchell, alleged incapacitated person. I read through 17 pages of lies. Robert Mitchell demonstrates significant cognitive decline following recent hospitalization. Unable to manage activities of daily living without supervision. History of confusion and memory loss. Unsafe living environment. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks out. 3 weeks to prove I was competent or lose everything. Sarah filed our response immediately. Along with it, she submitted Dr. Huang's affidavit, my bank's fraud alert records, and a statement from Daniel documenting Vanessa's attempts to sell my house without authorization. "We're building a counter-narrative," Sarah explained. "She says you're incompetent. We show she's predatory. She says she's concerned about your welfare. We show she tried to steal your assets. The judge will see through it." The psychological evaluation was scheduled for the following week. Dr. Lisa Park, a court-approved neuropsychologist, spent 3 hours putting me through tests. Memory exercises, problem-solving scenarios, practical questions about managing finances and medication. "If you need to take medicine 4 times a day, 6 hours apart, starting at 8 a.m., when are your doses?" she asked. I calculated aloud. 8 a.m., 2 p.m., 8 p.m., 2 a.m. "You missed taking your 2 p.m. dose. What time do you take the next one?" I'd take the missed dose as soon as I remembered, unless it was close to the next scheduled time. If it's past 6 p.m., I'd skip the missed dose and take the 8 p.m. dose on schedule to avoid doubling up. Dr. Park nodded, made notes. Later, she asked about my fall. "How did it happen?" "I was carrying laundry down to the basement. The light was out. I'd been meaning to change it. I misjudged the first step. My foot slipped, and I went down." "Do you feel that was due to cognitive impairment?" "It was due to poor lighting and my own negligence in not fixing it sooner. Also, I was rushing. Ellen always told me to slow down on the stairs." "Ellen was your wife?" "Yes. She died 8 months ago. Pancreatic cancer." Dr. Park's expression softened. "I'm sorry. How are you coping with that loss?" "Some days better than others. I miss her, but I'm managing." After 2 hours, she closed her tablet. "Mr. Mitchell, I see no evidence of cognitive impairment. You show excellent insight into your limitations. You use compensatory strategies appropriately, and you have good judgment. I'll be recommending against guardianship." I almost wept with relief. But that night, Daniel knocked on my door at 10 p.m. His face was grim. "I was taking the trash out," he said. I saw Vanessa's car parked down the street, lights off. She's watching your house. We looked out the window together. Sure enough, a dark sedan sat 3 houses down. I could just make out a figure in the driver's seat. What's she doing? I don't know, but I don't like it. Daniel pulled out his phone. I'm documenting this. Time, date, license plate. The car stayed there until midnight, then drove away. The next evening, it happened again. And the night after that. Vanessa, watching my house like a predator, waiting for the right moment. On the 4th night, Kyle joined her. I watched through the window as he got into her car. They sat there for 30 minutes, talking. Then Kyle got out, walked up my driveway, stood on the porch. I held my breath. The doorknob rattled. He was testing it, seeing if it was locked. It was. He tried the windows, moving methodically around the house. Daniel was already on the phone with police. I'm reporting a prowler, male, approximately 30 years old, attempting to gain entry to 247 Mountainside Drive. Kyle must have heard sirens in the distance. He ran back to Vanessa's car. They drove away before police arrived. The officer took my statement, documented the attempt. You know this person? My daughter-in-law's boyfriend. There's a guardianship case pending. The officer's expression changed, understanding. You might want to consider a restraining order. Sarah filed for one the next day. The hearing was scheduled for the same week as the guardianship hearing. That's when things escalated. I found the first note taped to my mailbox. Block letters, printed, untraceable. OLD menfall. Accidents happen. Sign the papers. Daniel photographed it, added it to our file. The second note appeared on my car windshield. Your heart isn't strong. Stress kills. The third note was slipped under my door at 3 a.m. I heard the soft scrape of paper on wood, struggled out of bed, got to the door as fast as my cast would allow. No one there. Just the note. Sophie needs a stable home, not a dead grandfather. That one made me call Sarah immediately, even though it was 4 a.m. She answered, sounding alert, professional. They're threatening you. They're threatening Sophie, too. Using her as leverage. Bring all the notes to my office today. We're going to the police. Detective James Morrison was thorough, mid-40s, with the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too many families destroy each other. He photographed each note, asked detailed questions about the guardianship case, the prowling incidents, the surveillance. Mr. Mitchell, what do you think their endgame is? They want my house. $800,000. Maybe more. What are they willing to do to get it? I thought about the notes. The watching. The late-night prowling. I'm afraid to find out. Morrison made a note. We'll increase patrols in your neighborhood, and I'm assigning this to our financial crimes unit. The pattern you're describing? Attempted fraud? Intimidation? It adds up to elder exploitation. That's a felony. 2 days before the hearing, I discovered the credit card. It arrived in the mail, addressed to me, from a bank I'd never done business with. I hadn't applied for it. The statement showed $48,000 in charges over the past 2 months. Designer clothes, jewelry, a down payment on a car lease, all while I was in the hospital and recovering at home. The application was attached. My signature, except it wasn't. Close, but the P in Mitchell hooked wrong. The social security number was correct, but the phone number wasn't mine. I called the bank's fraud department immediately. The representative walked me through the charges, each one more brazen than the last. This charge for $12,000, that's a Rolex watch purchased at a jewelry store in Atlanta. Were you in Atlanta on September 15th? I was in the hospital recovering from a broken leg. I'm flagging this as identity theft. We'll need you to file a police report and send documentation. Detective Morrison added it to his file. This is felony identity theft on top of the elder exploitation. When was the card opened? I checked the paperwork. August 23rd. 2 weeks before your fall. The realization hit me cold. They were planning this before I even got hurt. Morrison's expression was grim. Mr. Mitchell, I need to ask you something. Do you feel safe in your home? I thought about the notes, the watching, Kyle testing my doors at night. Honestly, no. Consider staying somewhere else until the hearing. A hotel, a friend's house. Somewhere they can't find you easily. Daniel offered immediately. Stay with me. I have a guest room, first floor, bathroom right next to it, and I'm home all the time. I moved next door that afternoon, bringing clothes and Ellen's jewelry box and the folder of evidence we'd assembled. Daniel helped me navigate his front steps, got me settled in a room that smelled like lavender and old books. That night, from Daniel's guest room window, I watched my house across the street, dark and empty. At 11 p.m., Vanessa's car appeared. She sat there for 20 minutes, then got out, walked to my front door, knocked, waited, knocked again. She pulled out her phone, called someone. Through Daniel's window, I heard my phone ringing in my bedroom at his house. I didn't answer. Vanessa tried the door. Locked. She peered through the windows. Then she saw the note Daniel had taped to the door. Mr. Mitchell is not receiving visitors. All communication should go through his attorney, Sarah Chen. Even from across the street, I could see her face twist with rage. The guardianship hearing was on a Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Sarah met me outside the courthouse, briefcase in hand, wearing a navy suit that meant business. Ready? She asked. I adjusted my tie, balanced on my crutches. The cast was due to come off in 2 weeks, but for now, it served as a visual reminder of my vulnerability. Let's do this. Inside courtroom 3B, Vanessa sat with her attorney, a younger man in an ill-fitting suit who kept checking his phone. She dressed carefully, modest skirt, simple blouse, minimal makeup, the concerned daughter-in-law costume. Kyle wasn't there. Sarah had seen to that with the restraining order hearing scheduled for the afternoon. He'd have to choose which one to attend. He chose neither. The judge entered. Judge Patricia Morrison, no relation to the detective, mid-60s with reading glasses, and an expression that suggested she'd heard every lie ever told in a courtroom. In the matter of the guardianship petition for Robert Mitchell, she said, we'll hear from the petitioner first. Vanessa took the stand. Her attorney guided her through prepared testimony. Robert's confusion after his fall, his inability to manage medications, his unsafe living environment. She pulled out a notebook, handwritten pages documenting incidents. September 8th, I found him wandering in the backyard at 2 a.m. in his pajamas. When I asked what he was doing, he seemed confused, disoriented. It was a lie. September 8th, I'd been looking for the cat, Mrs. Henderson's tabby, who sometimes wandered into my yard. I'd told Vanessa exactly what I was doing. September 15th, he left the stove on for over an hour. Didn't realize it until I came home and smelled gas. Another lie. The stove was electric, and I'd been heating soup. I'd turned it off after eating. Vanessa had turned it back on, deliberately, then made a show of discovering it. The lies kept coming, each one carefully crafted, each one with just enough truth to sound plausible. Then Sarah stood. She approached the bench with a thick folder, handed copies to the judge and Vanessa's attorney. Your Honor, Miss Mitchell claims concern for her father-in-law's financial management. Let's examine some financial records. She projected bank statements on a screen. Red circles highlighted transactions. Withdrawals from my account, deposits to Vanessa's. $27,000 over 2 years. These withdrawals, Sarah said, using a laser pointer, all occurred while Mr. Mitchell was either in the hospital or heavily medicated after his wife's death. Memo lines say household expenses or medical costs. But cross-referenced with actual bills, these amounts far exceed legitimate expenses. Vanessa's attorney flipped through the documents, his confidence visibly deflating. And this, Sarah continued, is a credit card application, opened in Mr. Mitchell's name without his knowledge or consent. $48,000 in fraudulent charges. She displayed the forged signature next to my real signature. The differences were subtle but clear. Miss Mitchell claims she's trying to protect her father-in-law. The evidence shows she's been systematically stealing from him while he grieved his wife and son. Dr. Park testified via video link. Professional, unshakable. Mr. Mitchell demonstrates full cognitive competence. He shows appropriate insight into his limitations, uses memory aids effectively, and maintains excellent judgment. An incompetent person lacks awareness of their deficits. Mr. Mitchell is very aware of his capabilities and makes compensatory adjustments appropriately. When I took the stand, Sarah asked straightforward questions. I answered clearly, calmly, meeting the judge's eyes. Mr. Mitchell, do you want your daughter-in-law to have guardianship over you? I looked at Vanessa, really looked at her. At the woman who'd moved into my home after my son died, who I tried to help, to support, to welcome his family. No, Your Honor. 2 years ago, my son died. I was devastated. Vanessa and Sophie needed a home, and I needed family. I thought we could help each other. I welcomed them into my house with love and trust. I paused, gathering my words. She repaid that trust by stealing from me, forging my signature, attempting to sell my home without my knowledge, and now trying to take away my autonomy. I want my home back, my life back, and my granddaughter protected from whatever influence led her mother to think any of this was acceptable. The judge removed her reading glasses. The courtroom was utterly silent. The petition for guardianship is denied. Mr. Mitchell clearly possesses full capacity to manage his affairs. She looked at Vanessa. Furthermore, the financial evidence presented suggests this petition was motivated by exploitation rather than genuine concern. The court finds evidence of elder financial abuse and identity theft. I'm ordering immediate cessation of Miss Mitchell's residence at Mr. Mitchell's property and referring this matter to law enforcement for criminal investigation. The gavel struck. Final. Vanessa's face went white. Her attorney packed his briefcase quickly, avoiding eye contact with everyone. In the courthouse corridor, Vanessa grabbed my arm. You selfish bastard. Where are we supposed to go? What about Sophie? Sarah stepped between us. Don't touch my client. Any further contact will be considered harassment. I'm his granddaughter's mother. You can't keep her from him. You're a felon facing criminal charges, Sarah said calmly. Any contact with Mr. Mitchell goes through proper legal channels. Now step back before I call security. That afternoon, Daniel and I returned to my house. It felt different, lighter somehow. Vanessa had apparently come while we were at court, taken her personal belongings, and left. The key was on the kitchen counter, but she'd left something else. A final note taped to the refrigerator. You'll regret this. When you're old and sick and need help, remember who you destroyed. I read it twice, then crumpled it and threw it away. Over the next week, the pieces fell into place. Detective Morrison arrested Vanessa for identity theft and elder financial abuse. The credit card fraud alone was a felony. Combined with the forged power of attorney documents, the unauthorized account, access attempts, and the threatening notes, she was looking at serious prison time. Kyle was picked up the same day on an outstanding warrant from Georgia. Turned out he had a history, fraud convictions, a restraining order from an ex-girlfriend. Vanessa's friend was a career criminal. I met with a family court attorney about Sophie. She was staying with Vanessa's sister temporarily, a woman I'd met once at Michael's funeral. Sarah helped me file for visitation rights. You're her grandfather, she said. You have rights. And frankly, given her mother's situation, the court might look favorably on you as a placement option. A week after the hearing, I sat in Sarah's office reviewing documents. Vanessa had taken a plea deal, guilty to fraud and identity theft. 3 years supervised probation, a felony conviction, 500 hours community service, and full restitution, $68,000. Most crucially, a court order severing her claim to any inheritance from my estate. I received the first restitution check 2 weeks later. $700, the first of 96 monthly payments. I endorsed it over to the Asheville Elder Advocacy Fund and felt lighter with each signature. Daniel had become more than a neighbor. We had dinner together most nights, trading stories about our wives, our careers, our regrets. He'd lost his wife to Alzheimer's 5 years ago. We understood each other's grief. Late October, on what would have been Ellen's 65th birthday, Daniel and I drove to her favorite spot in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We sat on an overlook, watching the leaves turn gold and red. I keep thinking I should hate Vanessa, I said, but mostly I just feel sad. For Sophie, for Michael, for the family we could have been. Hate takes energy, Daniel said. Energy you need for healing. When does the healing start? I think it already has. In early November, family court awarded me supervised visitation with Sophie, 2 hours every Saturday at a neutral location. The first visit, she ran to me and cried into my shoulder. I missed you, Grandpa. Mommy said you didn't want to see me anymore. That's not true, sweetheart. I've always wanted to see you. Always. We spent 2 hours doing puzzles and talking about school and carefully not mentioning the adult mess that had brought us here. When time was up, she hugged me tight. Can I come back next week? Every week, I promised. Every single week. December brought the first snow. Daniel and I sat on my front porch, bundled in coats, drinking coffee and watching the neighborhood turn white. You did good, he said. Standing up for yourself. Not everyone can do that. I had help. Without you. Without you having the courage to fight back, my help wouldn't have mattered. He raised his coffee mug in a toast. To choosing to fight instead of accepting defeat. I clinked my mug against his. To good neighbors who become better friends. Inside, my house was slowly becoming mine again. New furniture, carefully chosen, photos of Ellen and Michael on the walls. The grandfather clock I'd rescued from the moving company before they sold it. Small things, but they mattered. Ellen's engagement ring sat in its box on my dresser. I opened it sometimes, remembering her smile when I'd proposed, the weight of the ring on her finger, the life we'd built together. I did it. I told her photo on my nightstand. I fought for us, for what we built, for Sophie's future. The photo didn't answer, but I felt something lift in my chest. Not closure exactly, but something close. Acceptance, maybe. Understanding. On Christmas Eve, Daniel invited me for dinner. We cooked together, traded stories, laughed about old mistakes and new beginnings. Afterward, we sat by his fireplace, comfortable in the silence. What are your plans for next year? He asked. I thought about Sophie's visits, slowly increasing from supervised to unsupervised. About the advocacy work I'd started with the Elder Abuse Prevention Network. About the memoir I'd been writing, documenting what happened so others might recognize the warning signs. Keep moving forward, I said. Keep choosing life. That's all any of us can do. Later that night, back in my own house, I stood at the living room window, looking out at the snow-covered street. The house that had almost been stolen from me stood solid beneath my feet. The life that had almost been taken away stretched out ahead, uncertain but mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophie. Merry Christmas, Grandpa. I love you. Can we make cookies next Saturday? I smiled, typed back. We can make cookies every Saturday, if you want. The grandfather clock chimed midnight. Christmas Day. I'd made it through the worst year of my life and come out the other side. Scarred maybe, but standing, alone in some ways, but surrounded by people who chose to care. The snow kept falling, covering everything in clean, white silence. Inside my house, warm and safe, I sat in Ellen's chair and felt, for the first time in months, something like peace. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Legal processes to finish, relationships to rebuild, healing that would take years. But tonight, on this quiet Christmas Eve, I chose to rest, to breathe, to remember that I'd fought for my life and won. That was enough.